releases hundreds of thousands of predatory mice on an island full of animals. Welcome to the latest issue of Pop. In a shocking and bold decision, Australia has released hundreds of thousands of predatory mice on Macquarie Island, a wildlife paradise teeming with These tiny invaders with sharp teeth and brutal instincts have turned the island into an ecological battlefield, spreading terror among seabirds and fur seals. Is this a brilliant conservation strategy or a catastrophic mistake pushing the ecosystem to the brink of collapse? The uninhabited island and the arrival of humans. Macquarie Island, a lonely speck in the vast ocean, was discovered by humans in 1810. With an area of about 128 square kilometers, the island possesses a pristine yet harsh beauty. Bitterly cold winds blow over sheer cliffs, ocean waves roar incessantly, and the weather is always ready to challenge anyone daring to set foot here. The natural conditions here are so severe that no one even considered turning it into a settlement or a prison like many other islands at the time. Despite past exploitation plans, Macquarie has retained its wildness, almost impregnable, as if it wanted to defy all human intentions. However, the abundance of fur seals on the island attracted the attention of hunters. For them, Macquarie was not just a remote land but also an opportunity to make money. Fur seals, with their valuable pelts, were a major source of profit during that era, and the money earned was enough to lure hunters through the arduous journey to this frigid island. Nevertheless, hunting on Macquarie was never easy. The freezing winds, treacherous terrain, and the island's isolation made every trip a battle with nature. But greed and economic needs overcame everything, causing hunters to flock continuously, bringing not only tools but also things they were unaware of. Along with ships laden with hope and ambition, hunters inadvertently brought uninvited guests to the island, sneaky mice hiding in the ship's holds. These small creatures, though unnoticed by anyone, found a true paradise in Macquarie. The island was home to countless seabird species, from albatrosses to penguins, all living in an ecosystem without natural predators. No predator on the island was powerful enough to stop the mice's expansion. They quickly multiplied, spread everywhere, and began to wreak havoc. Seabird eggs became easy meals, chicks were mercilessly attacked, and even adult birds could not escape their sharp claws. Macquarie's ecosystem had developed over thousands of years in perfect balance. Now it faced an unprecedented threat, a silent but brutal invasion that began with human ships. The fragile ecosystem in the face of the invasion wave. The ecosystem of Macquarie Island is a marvel of nature, formed and evolved over centuries in complete isolation from the outside world. Without human intervention or any invasive species, the island's organisms developed sophisticated survival methods, creating a perfect equilibrium. But this very isolation made them extremely vulnerable when confronted with external invaders. Seabirds like albatrosses or penguins, though accustomed to threats from native predators, were completely helpless against the new enemy, the small but dangerous mice. The blue petrel, one of the island's characteristic species, is a prime example of perfect adaptation to the natural environment. They spend most of their time soaring over the vast ocean, returning to the island only at night to nest in underground burrows. This strategy helped them avoid predators like skuas, which are primarily active during the day. Nests hidden in the darkness and soil seemed like absolutely safe places. But mice, with their nature of following no rules, breached all defenses. They infiltrated the smallest crevices, invaded burrows, and ruthlessly destroyed nests. Eggs were gnawed, chicks were attacked, and life on the island began to falter under the escalating threat. By 1919, Macquarie's ecosystem had suffered a major shock. The overhunting of fur seals by humans had pushed the species to the brink of extinction, and penguins were in an equally critical state. But hunting was not the only threat. The mice, with their ever-growing numbers, became a real nightmare. They not only targeted eggs and chicks but also gnawed everything they found, from flowers, seeds, and fruits to newly sprouted seedlings. The vegetation, which was the foundation of the ecosystem, began to decline severely. Lush green meadows gradually disappeared, leaving behind barren, lifeless patches of land. This devastation not only affected the plants but also had serious consequences for the animal species that depended on them. Birds lost their hiding places, food became scarce, and the island's food chain began to unravel, threatening the existence of an entire ecosystem that was once very. In the early 19th century, to deal with the rampant mice on Macquarie Island, humans introduced cats as a biological control solution. Some opinions suggest that cats were brought intentionally to protect the valuable food supplies of first seal hunters from being destroyed by mice. However, there are also those who believe that cats only followed humans accidentally, sneaking onto cargo ships in the same way rats had done before. Regardless of how they appeared, the presence of cats marked a major turning point in the island's ecosystem history. With their sharp hunting instincts, cats quickly became the new dominators. They not only targeted rats but also attacked seabirds that had no ability to defend themselves against such an unfamiliar enemy. Cats, with their agility and ferocity, easily overwhelmed albatrosses or penguins that were only accustomed to dealing with native predators like petrels. Bird nests scattered across the island, once considered safe, now became easy targets for the cats. As a result, seabird populations began to decline, and the fragile balance of the island's ecosystem was seriously. Cats were not just a solution but became a new problem, complicating the already tense situation on Macquarie Island. About 60 years later, in 1878, humans intervened again in the island's ecosystem by releasing rabbits. This was a common practice at the time, where sailors often left animals on remote islands as a backup food source for those who might be shipwrecked. However, no one foresaw the consequences of this action. With ideal conditions and no natural enemies, rabbits reproduced at an alarming rate, turning Macquarie's lush green fields into barren lands with no trace of life. They gnawed on everything, from leaves, flowers, seeds to roots, completely destroying the vegetation layer that once served as protection for the birds. Stop at the vegetation. As plants disappeared, the island. Albatross nests, once sheltered by bushes, were now exposed to native predators like skuas. The island's ecosystem, already weakened by rats and cats, faced yet another new threat, pushing Macquarie into an increasingly severe ecological crisis. The consequences of rabbits and the cat population explosion. The rabbit population explosion on Macquarie Island had serious consequences, not only for the vegetation but also continuing to impact native bird species. Rabbits, with their incessant gnawing nature, destroyed the vegetation that once protected bird nests. The bushes and lush green meadows, which were safe hiding places for albatrosses and penguins, were now just barren patches of land. Without the protection of plants, bird nests became easy targets for native predators like skuas, always lurking for an opportunity to attack, but the disaster didn't end there. Gnawing of roots and destruction of vegetation cover made the island. One of the most notable events was the major landslide at Lusitania Bay in 2006. Affecting an area of over 500 square meters, this landslide destroyed part of an important penguin colony, delivered a major shock to the already extremely fragile ecosystem of Macquarie Island. While rabbits devastated the vegetation, cats, another major predator, also contributed to worsening the situation. With the abundant food source from rabbits, the cat population on the island skyrocketed. Initially, cats mainly hunted rats, but rabbits, being larger and easier to catch, quickly became their preferred prey. The availability of rabbits allowed cats to reproduce rapidly, turning them into a formidable hunting force. However, in 1968, humans intervened by introducing a deadly virus to eliminate the rabbits. As a result, the rabbit population plummeted from over 100,000 to under 20,000 by the 1980s. Losing their main food source, cats were forced to switch to seabirds. With their sharp hunting instincts and facing no resistance, cats became a nightmare for the birds. It's estimated that each year, cats cause the death of about 60,000 seabirds, a horrifying number for a small island like Macquarie. The presence of rats, cats, and rabbits created a destructive spiral, completely disrupting the ecosystem's balance. Many bird species, including Galurus macroensis and Chongoros erythroides, were pushed to the brink of extinction. The consequences of these ill-considered human interventions not only reduced native species populations but also put Macquarie Island at risk of losing its inherent natural, an expensive lesson about interfering with nature. In the 1950s, scientists began to realize that Macquarie Island was at risk of permanent change without timely action to protect its fragile ecosystem. The island, once a paradise for seabirds and marine life, was now devastated by the presence of invasive predators like rats, cats, and rabbits. Aware of the severity of the problem, researchers experimented with various methods to restore natural balance. However, not every solution yielded the expected results, and some efforts even complicated the situation, pushing the island's ecosystem into new crisis spirals. In 1985, a determined campaign was launched to eliminate cats, the predators that were slaughtering seabirds at a frightening rate. The chosen method was culling, a direct but necessary approach to protect native species. After 15 years of persistence, by June 2000, nearly 2,500 cats had been eliminated. This success brought hope to seabirds that had suffered heavy losses with tens of thousands of individuals killed each year. However, this joy didn't last long. The elimination of cats, while saving seabirds from one threat, inadvertently created conditions for another problem to erupt. With no natural enemies, the rabbit population on the island skyrocketed at an alarming rate, causing a new ecological crisis more severe than what the cats had ever caused. By 2007, ecologists decided to use advanced technology to assess the extent of the devastation. They compared satellite images of Macquarie Island taken in 2000, when the last cats were eliminated, with images from 2007. The results were truly shocking. The lush green grasslands that were once characteristic of the island were now just barren patches of land, mercilessly gnawed by rabbits. It's estimated that about 40% of the island. Rabbits with a population peaking at around 300,000, along with countless rats and mice no longer under control, had turned Macquarie into an ecological The decline in vegetation not only eliminated shelter for bird species but also caused soil erosion, threatening the existence of the entire ecosystem. Previous conservation efforts, though well-intentioned, now clearly show the complexity of intervening in nature when one solution inadvertently opens up new, more difficult challenges. Large-scale campaign to eradicate invasive species. Faced with the deteriorating ecosystem of Macquarie Island due to the destruction by invasive species, the Australian and Tasmanian governments decided to take strong action to save the island. In 2007, they announced an ambitious plan with a budget exceeding $15 million to completely remove invasive animals, including rabbits, rats, and mice. This was not just a conservation effort, but a true ecological war, with the goal of restoring Macquarie's pristine beauty. According to 2009 estimates, the island faced a huge challenge, with approximately 130,000 rabbits, 36,000 rats, and 103,000 mice dominating the ecosystem. These numbers show the scale of the problem requiring a tightly organized, well-coordinated campaign using the most advanced methods. The campaign officially began in mid-2007 and lasted about 2.5 years, involving ecology experts, ranger teams, and modern technology. The first phase focused on reducing the rabbit population, the species causing the most serious damage to the island's vegetation. To achieve this, conservationists used an intelligent biological strategy, distributing virus-laced carrots in areas with high rabbit density. These carrots were not only attractive bait but also vehicles for transmitting calicivirus, a virus causing fatal hemorrhagic disease in rabbits. Simultaneously, traps were set at night in places where rabbits often gathered, aiming to capture as many individuals as possible. This method was not only effective but also helped significantly reduce the rabbit population before implementing stronger measures. After the preparation phase, the campaign entered its most intense stage, aerial baiting from helicopters. In total, 300 tons of poisoned bait were dropped on the island over 2 consecutive winters, chosen to minimize the risk to non-target seabirds. The blue pellets, specially designed to attract rabbits and rodents, were dispersed across the island, from steep cliffs to barren grasslands. Implementation during winter helped limit the presence of seabirds, which typically leave the island to feed in the ocean at this time. Calicivirus continued to be used in parallel, enhancing the campaign's effectiveness by weakening the rabbit population from within. The combination of poisoned bait and virus created a powerful blow, directly hitting the invasive species, laying the foundation for the next steps in the effort to restore Macquarie Island's ecosystem. The role of dogs in the campaign's success. After the aerial baiting operations were completed, a special task force of 12 hunting dogs was mobilized to hunt down the remaining rabbits and rodents on Macquarie Island. The dog team included Springer, Spaniel, Labrador breeds and 1 lurcher, all thoroughly trained to adapt to this special mission. They were trained not to be distracted by native animals like penguins or seals, focusing entirely on detecting traces of invasive species. With the support of hunters, the dog team overcame the island's harsh terrain, from steep cliffs to barren grasslands. Covering over 90,000 kilometers in the freezing winds and unstable weather of the Antarctic region, their persistence and sharpness played a key role in ensuring no rabbit or rodent could hide. Remarkably, the campaign, originally expected to last 3 years, was completed in just 7 months. Thanks to the effective combination of poison bait, virus, calicivirus and the efforts of the hunting dog team, Invasive species numbers. By April 2014, Macquarie Island was officially declared free of rabbits, rats, and mice. This was the largest and most successful invasive species eradication campaign on an island at that time, marking a historic milestone in conservation. This success not only saved the island's ecosystem but also became a symbol of human perseverance and creativity in repairing mistakes made towards nature. To recognize the special contribution of the hunting dog team, the post office issued a commemorative stamp set, honoring the brave dogs that overcame harsh conditions to complete. Their dedication, combined with the close coordination of conservationists, brought hope to Macquarie, opening the opportunity for the island to gradually regain its pristine beauty from before human intervention.
The ecosystem's revival.
After invasive species like rabbits, rats, and cats were completely eliminated, Macquarie Island began its journey to restore the severely damaged ecosystem. Positive signs appeared almost immediately. Many seabird species once facing extinction began returning and increasing in numbers.
Two other species,
Gralleria cinerea and Halilia carolia, which had disappeared from the island since the 1900s, also returned. Scientists recorded that their populations grew by about 10% annually, an encouraging signal showing the ecosystem was gradually regaining. The return of bird species not only benefited the fauna but also contributed to the restoration of vegetation.
Bird droppings, rich in nutrients, made the soil more fertile, creating conditions for plants to thrive.
The grasslands once gnawed by rabbits now began to turn green again, providing safe shelter for bird species. However, scientists warn that fully restoring Macquarie's ecosystem will require a long time, possibly 30 to 50 years, to achieve the balance that existed before human intervention. Though this journey still faces many challenges, the initial successes have ignited hope. The conservation campaign, with its determination and close coordination, has proven that humans can repair past mistakes, giving nature the opportunity to regenerate and develop sustainably.
Lesson from Macquarie.
The story of Macquarie Island is a profound lesson about human impact on fragile ecosystems. Ill-considered interventions, such as introducing rats, cats, and rabbits to the island, triggered a chain reaction, pushing many seabird species and plants to the brink of extinction. Even conservation efforts, though well-intentioned, sometimes lead to unintended consequences, such as when eliminating cats caused rabbit populations to explode. However, the invasive species eradication campaign, with significant investments of time, money, and effort, proved that humans can correct mistakes. This success not only saved Macquarie but also became a symbol of hope and responsibility in nature conservation.
Today, Macquarie Island stands as evidence of human perseverance in environmental protection.
To maintain these achievements, strict biological control measures are implemented without compromise.
Every ship arriving at the island, from luggage, shoes to each backpack, must be thoroughly inspected to ensure no rats or invasive seeds enter.
Sniffer dogs continue to patrol, protecting the island from the risk of reinvasion. The Macquarie story reminds us that every intervention in nature, no matter how small, requires careful consideration. Only by acting with responsibility and respect for nature can humans coexist harmoniously with ecosystems, protecting them for future generations and avoiding repeating costly mistakes. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to subscribe to the Beyond the Veil 0707 channel for more engaging videos.
Thank you for watching and see you next time.